The days of German top-tier supremacy are gone. The addition of new nations, as well as new main battle tanks, has left the German top-tier lineup feeling a little bit underwhelming. This, however, is not really down to the performance of the German vehicles themselves. The Leopard 2A5 is still one of the most powerful tanks in game. However, if you die in the 2A5, you have to spawn in either the 2A4 or the Leo 2K, both of which are powerful but lack the armour for brawling. And with the two other big nations in War Thunder, the Americans and the Soviets, having several powerful high-performance backup tanks, the ability for the Germans to compete in a sustained battle has become rather poor. But does this mean the German tech tree should no longer be considered one of the big three? Alright lads, today I'm going to be talking about the performance, weapons and playstyle of the Leopard 2A5. Starting as always with the basics, this vehicle is a rank 7 battle rating 10.7 main battle tank located in the German tech tree. Being a rank 7 tech tree vehicle, it will only be effective at researching other vehicles between the ranks of 6 and 7. To unlock this tank, you will have to grind out 390,000 research points before purchasing the tank for a cost of 1,020,000 silver lions. After this, you will then have to add the tank to your lineup for an additional cost of 290,000 silver lions. You can then optionally purchase the Expert and Ace qualifications for the tank, costing an additional 1,020,000 silver lions and 2,100 golden eagles respectively. At the time of recording, the Leopard 2A5 has a pretty high repair cost of 10,957 silver lions. While not the highest repair cost of a NATO main battle tank, it may still be quite daunting for a non-premium player. Moving on to the rewards, and the vehicle has a base RP modifier of 2.32. This gives you an RP modifier of 232% with a free-to-play account and 464% with a premium account. Your base silver line modifier of 1.5 is pretty high, but with the repair cost also being high, you can't afford to make risky plays in this vehicle. You can expect a 150% silver line modifier with a free-to-play account and 225% with a premium account. So is the Leopard 2A5 still worth the mammoth grind to unlock it, and is it still one of the best performing tanks in game? If you'd like to know the answer to these questions, then stick around for the rest of the video. Okay, so starting as always with the engine and performance, and just like the Leopard 2A4, the 2A5 is powered by an engine producing 1,500 horsepower. This engine power combined with a vehicle's weight of 59.5 tonnes gives it a power to weight ratio of 25.2 horsepower per tonne. This is actually lower than the power to weight ratio of the Leopard 2A4, but this is due to the additional armour the 2A5 is carrying, which we will cover shortly. Moving on to the transmission, and we can see that the Leopard has a top speed of 68 km/h, and with your rather high power to weight ratio, you reach that top speed pretty quickly. The Leopard also has a respectable reverse speed of 31 km/h. I would make another joke about role-playing as the French here, but I'm still getting comments from angry Frenchmen from last week's video. Being a top tier NATO main battle tank, the Leopard naturally has the ability to neutral steer, giving the 2A5 excellent mobility and manoeuvrability by Soviet standards, but compared to some other NATO tanks, it feels rather heavy. Overall, the mobility of the Leopard 2A5 is rather average. There's nothing about the performance of this vehicle that distinguishes it from its contemporaries, but to be fair to the tank, it does have some very stiff competition. Okay, so moving on to the armour and survivability, and the first thing to mention is that the 2A5 has a crew of 4 men. Conveniently for the enemy, the driver, gunner and commander are all lined up, making you an easy one-shot kill if a round penetrates the left-hand side of your vehicle. Like the 2A4, the 2A5 has blowout panels in the turret bustle. This is where your ammunition is stored. However, unlike some other NATO tanks with blowout panels such as the Abrams, the Leopard can only carry 15 rounds in the turret. Taking more than 15 rounds into a battle will result in ammunition being stored in the front of the hull next to the driver. Alright, so moving on to the arm performance itself, and to test this, we will be using the 3BM42 Mango round as fired by the T80U. Starting as always with the lower frontal plate, and as you can see, the armour protection ranges from 180mm all the way up to 430mm of armour. Like several other NATO main battle tanks, the upper frontal plate is relatively lightly armoured, only giving around 440mm of protection, pretty weak compared to most Soviet tanks. Moving up to the turret, and the cheeks are pretty much immune to all rounds in the game. As you can see, the turret provides over 900mm of armoured protection. However, like all other tanks, the turret breach is a weak spot, providing only around 300mm of armour. When engaging a Leopard 2A5 from the front, shooting the tank underneath the gun here or just below the driver's vision ports is the best way to kill or incapacitate this tank. Moving to the side of the vehicle, and protection decreases substantially, down to only around 22mm of armour on the hull. Moving up to the turret however, and the protection at the front of the turret is actually very good. but as we move down the length of the turret, your protection decreases, down to around 260mm in the crew compartment and only 60mm around the ammunition bustle. And finally, the rear of the turret provides 66mm of armour, and the rear of the hull provides just 21mm of armour. Overall, the armour protection of the Leopard 2A5 is pretty good, at least when hull down. Like most other NATO members, with the exceptions of the Charlie 2 and the Stridswagen 122, the frontal hull armour is pretty weak in comparison to Soviet bloc tanks. However, the thick turret armour more than makes up for this. Stay hull down, stay king of the battlefield. Moving on to the weapons and ammunition, and as you can see, the Leopard is armed with the Rheinmetall 120mm L44 cannon. Being a modern vehicle, the gun is fully stabilised in both the vertical and horizontal planes. The 2A5 also has the NATO standard 20 degrees of gun elevation and a slightly below average 9 degrees of gun depression. You can also carry 42 rounds in total, with 15 of those rounds being classed as your first stage ammunition stored in the turret bustle. As I've mentioned previously, carrying any more than 15 rounds means ammunition is stored in the hull, making it very vulnerable to enemy fire. So taking a look at the reloading skill under the loader section, and we have a base reload speed of 7.8 seconds. With an ace crew, that drops down to 6 seconds. This reload rate is only around average for top tier. You do beat the Soviet 7.1 second autoloader, but some NATO main battle tanks have a reload of 5 seconds. Moving on to the targeting skill under the gunner section, and we can see that you have a base turret rotation speed of 28 degrees per second, which rises to 40 degrees per second with an ace crew. Next we move on to the modifications, and I want to point out that this tank gets access to a laser rangefinder, first generation thermal imaging for the gunner, and third generation thermals for the commander's sight. Moving on to the ammunition, and we have 3 rounds available, 1 stock and 2 unlockable. Your stock round is the DM12A1 heater fest shell. It travels at a muzzle velocity of 1140 meters per second and can penetrate 480mm of armour. A pretty bog standard stock round, to be honest. Luckily for you, you have a tier 1 APF-SDS round. This is the DM23 shell and should be unlocked as soon as you have parts and FPE. It travels at 1640 meters per second and is capable of penetrating 410mm of flat armour. A pretty good fin round, even for top tier. Your last unlockable round is the good old DM33 shell. It travels at the same muzzle velocity, however it is capable of penetrating 481mm of armour. Your ammunition choices are very good in general use, but you have no speciality rounds such as the M1A2's anti-helicopter shell. Moving away from the ammunition and onto the gun handling, and just like the World War II German tanks, the Leopard has an excellent optical zoom as well as a wide field of view. Both of these, combined with the thermal imaging, really allow the 2A5 to excel in long-range defensive engagements. Overall, the firepower of the Leopard 2A5 is very good. It is more than capable of dealing with any opponent frontally if you know where to shoot. With that overview finished, we'll now go on to some gameplay, followed by a conclusion. Alright, so welcome to Normandy. We're going to go up towards the A cap. We don't really have any alternatives. It is a single cap map. Took a shot there. Saw a little bit of a thermal signature, but we didn't get anything. Pretty on it. Oh, looks like a turret of a T. It's a HSTVL. Done a video on that. Shameless plug. Bit risky here. There's usually a lot of people in like the hedges, like on the other side of this house. I think there's a vehicle in there. Or else we would be capping. There's like a T-72B. Still not capping, so I think there's another. Oh well. There he is, boys. Can't see him. Oh well. Sucks to be that guy. Random shot, he took out his cannon. Is there another guy? Is that a McCarver? I was going to go for his upper plate there, but I thought it'd bounce. Right, well, we're going to get screwed by that guy. I'm going to have to go at the other side. There's another McCarver. Bit risky here, there is a helicopter as well. Oh. That's where you shoot the McCarvers, by the way. The very top of the upper frontal plate. You have to have a very good round or else it'll bounce, but hopefully get that guy, yeah. Oh. Is that some sort of... Is it a... No, it's the British HMV. There are 2 helicopters up here, so I'm going to get screwed, I assume. Oh. It's another T-72. That was a very lucky shot there. I just fired that. Oh, there's the helicopters. Welcome to top tier. Oh. Oh. We got hit. We're gonna spam my smoke, I think. I think this is the end, boys. Okay, so I just spammed smoke continuously and we didn't continue getting shot, so hopefully we're not going to get killed as soon as we repair, because that sucks. Our crew are our crew aren't dead. They're just like, oh well. Oh, there he is. What is that? XM1. Wow. Dead XM1 now. I was pretty luckily for me. He should have killed, well, he shouldn't have. He should have easily killed me. I'm not saying he's... Don't see anyone over there. The guy with smoke. Been a pretty good run on this. Oh well. As I said, it's been a pretty good. We die. Anyway, 8 kills. Can't really complain with that. To conclude, as a tank, the Leopard 2A5 is still one of the most powerful main battle tanks in the game. It has a great combination of firepower, armour and mobility, giving it flexibility in several playstyles. However, where this tank really comes into its own element is a hold down and defensive position. Your strong turret with no large weak spots allows you to essentially taunt your opponents, and your powerful gun allows you to punish anyone stupid enough trying to push you. There are downsides, however. Compared to the Leopard 2A4, the mobility is significantly less due to the improved protection. However, as I mentioned above, playing this tank defensively counters this weakness. Or alternatively, if you want a fast flanking tank at the start of a game, just spawn in the 2A4. Like some of the smaller nations in War Thunder, the Germans have no powerful backup vehicles at top tier. The Leopard 2A5 is battle rating 10.7 and the 2A4 is 10.0. Apart from the Leopard 2K at battle rating 9.7, you have no other real dependable backups. While the new introductions such as the TAM2C and Radkampfwagen 90 are powerful, they don't offer you the same flexibility as a main battle tank. The Soviets, Americans, and arguably the British and Italians all have several spawns of competitive top tier vehicles. In short, if you die in the 2A5, your backups are notably weaker than those of other nations. This isn't really a fair criticism of the 2A5 itself. Instead, it's more an observation of the power creep in War Thunder. It's important to remember that this is just my opinion. What do you guys think about the old girl? If you have any questions, criticism, positive or negative, or would even like to request a review, please feel free to leave a comment below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if I did my job correctly, hopefully you should have learned something about this tank. If you do enjoy these sort of videos, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. But more importantly, I hope you have a great day, and thank you very much for watching, lads.